Hello, how you doing? This
Good.
is
How are
fun this
you?
time again. Good. Um, so this is fun this time, and we're very happy to have you here. Can you tell us a little bit about you? Can you tell us what do you do and like all the cool things that you do?
Sure. So first, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm so excited to talk with you and to share with your audience. My name is Ashley Cook. I am the creator of Lane Copywriting and the ASAP Copy Club. So I'm a copywriter and a content marketing specialist. So I partner with overwhelmed entrepreneurs who need some serious time savers when it comes to writing the sales material for their business. From a background perspective, growing up, I never even thought about going into business, into the business world, let alone starting my own business. I love to write. I love to do theater. I was a slightly dramatic child. And so I really found a home in the creative, like the arts. And so when it came time to pick a major, I was like, well, what do I do? And so, I love doing stage managing. And I thought, well, stage management business, I'll just go to business school. And so I was in corporate America for 13 years, worked for some amazing companies from supply chain to sales, marketing, and analytics, and really wanted to get back to that in between of you take the data and the insights and the analytics, and then you bring the art and the storytelling, and you put those two together. And that's where copywriting is. It's writing in a way that persuades people to take action. And so I love partnering with small business owners to help them do that better for their business.
That's pretty awesome. And you mentioned supply chain. So supply chain is all about creating systems. So I think that's super helpful.
It is. I'm a total nerd when it comes to processes. So
Yes, and I think that's a lot of the problem that people have. They don't know how to write. They don't know what the process is to communicate. They might feel it, they might know it, but put it into words, sometimes it's hard.
It's hard. It's super hard. I call it the sludge, where, you have a business owner who's like just overflowing with passion, and they talk about, they can talk about their business all day and talk about their products and their services, but something happens from when they go to their head, and the message travels down their arm into their fingers. And then all of a sudden they get to the keyboard and they just don't know what to write. It's really hard for a lot of folks.
Yeah, and especially when you talk about a business, that it's not just about talking about what you want, it's about talking about what the customer wants, and translating that into the customer voice. It sounds cool, but it's not that easy to do. I know for experience. So that's something that definitely a lot of people need help with.
Well, and I think they don't. I think one of the big ahas for business owners is that copywriting is actually 4 jobs into one. And so, like I mentioned, the ASAP Copy Club earlier. Well, ASAP actually is an acronym that stands for the 4 jobs that you're doing when you write copy. You're an actor, but not like in a get on stage and be kind of flashy way. You're doing the character analysis. You're getting to know your target audience. You're putting yourself in their shoes. Then you're also the shrink or the psychologist. You have to understand the emotional techniques to relate to them. Then you're the author. That's where you put your fingers to the keyboard or your pen to paper. And then the 4th role is you're a polisher. So you're editing, you're refining, you're trying to make your copy pop and grab your reader. So that's why it can feel so hard, is because it's actually 4 jobs rolled all into one.
Well, so do you have a website of a course that explains more about the process?
So what 2 of the main services that I provide, I can either, for business owners, I take all that off their plate for them. I'll say, I'll do the 4 roles for you and write your copy entirely. And then the other thing that I do is I provide coaching and mentorship and some time hacks and time savers for the business owners who want to or just need to do it themselves for this season. So in the Copy Club is where I provide like templates and time hacks, and then also group coaching to help them break down some of those techniques that are effective and that really hit on those 4 different roles within copywriting.
Okay. And And like for email marketing, all that stuff as well, that's separate. Is that the same language or is that different? How do you approach that? Like when you're talking about email campaigns and stuff like that.
So whether, no matter what kind of copy it is, whether it's a blog or a Facebook ad or an email sequence or your website, or even a postcard that you design, it still all has that same approach to it. You still have to know who your target audience is and what action do you want them to take whenever they're writing the copy. I think one of the biggest temptations is to assume that your reader knows what to do when they engage with your copy. But having clear call to actions and providing that very clear guidance on what do you want them to do? You know, like on an email, what do you want them to, do you want them to stay tuned for the next email? Do you want them to click a link? Do you want them to hit reply or go to your website? So being very clear in what the purpose is for that copy. And then, you know, emotionally connecting and whatnot. All of those rules still apply across the different types of copy that exist. Emails are unique because it's not all just contained within one piece of copy. It's like spread across multiple emails or kind of the longevity of a relationship.
So you look at email like pages of a book?
I look at it as guideposts along a journey. So let's say you're taking a hike and you're just starting out and you are you're wanting to take like a 2-mile hike, for example. The emails are your initial email that you send out in your sequence is kind of where you're starting off, or that person has just opted in to receive your emails. And then all along that 2-mile journey, let's say the end goal is you want to transition them into a, like you want to convert them into a subscriber or someone who will purchase your product. Your email sequence, each email is kind of a guidepost or a marker along the way of that 2-mile hike. So when you're first starting off, you're not really familiar with the terrain. You really may not be familiar with what you're doing. So you have to build that awareness and that relationship. You don't want to immediately say, hey, we're going to go up a treacherous hill or we're going to go off the path or whatever. You want to make sure that you're building that relationship with your reader. And then you're slowly either introducing micro asks or micro wins along the way, gradually leading them up to the end goal of purchasing a product or you know, signing up for a call, whatever your end goal is.
That's very interesting because I know there's a lot of misconception about email. I know I get bombarded by it, and sometimes I just ignore them.
Yeah, there's a lot of
whenever I find,
yes,
there's some people that send it like twice a day or some once a day, and some of them are really good, but it's hard to find in the whole thousands of emails that you get. And the ones that are really good, I tend to save them because I like the style. I like this conversational, and it's not about sell.
Yeah.
I think that's very tiring, and that's something that a small business, that's what they want to go. They want to go ahead and make the sale already. But it's like anything, you have to build a relationship. Otherwise, you just get annoyed and go away, right?
It's true. Well, and I think if you you hit on a great point. One, it's awesome that you're saving those emails because as a copywriter, one of the things that I was trained to do, and I also highly encourage business owners to do as well, is to create their swipe file. And when they find examples of emails or websites, you save it so that whenever it comes time for you to write yours, you can use that as inspiration. But you hit on something else is that feeling of always being sold to is like really gross. And you feel like you're being taken advantage of, or it's just always so pushy. And there's a balance in copywriting where you want to always provide more value. Like I know from a social media standpoint, you want to provide like 4 posts of value for every 1 post of selling something. So it's this 80-20 rule of you always want to provide more value than you're asking for a sale. Because that credibility and that trust is so incredibly important.
Yeah, it's like anything, right? Once you break the trust, it's very hard to get it back. So
oh my gosh,
you want to, You have to treat it very careful, and you can have virtually, you can have conversations with anywhere in the world with anybody, but um there's something about talking to people face to face. You cannot get that trust a lot faster. Virtually, it takes longer to build. So that's something that people need to be aware of. And writing is a window to the soul, right? So that's definitely something that needs to be studied. Um, so what nuggets do you have to share that you think it might help some small business owners or some entrepreneurs that maybe starting to think about this stuff? You know, they usually have an idea and they just go with it, uh, and then they hit all these uh, blocks on the way, and that's when they start listening. So how can you help them, guide them? Like, what is something that they would be useful for them to know?
Sure. So I think one of the hardest parts when it comes to writing copy, there's of course the how much do I, add value versus when do I ask for the sell. There's that piece of it. And that's a whole like topic for like a really long thing you can get into, because it depends on the type of copy and whatnot. But what I would say is for any type of copy, I'd love to give some tips on how to how to grab your reader more and grab their attention. And because if you don't get their attention, they're not ever going to keep reading on. So one of the things I like to recommend is spend time on your header. So there's a famous copywriter named David Ogilvy who says that for every dollar that you spend in marketing, 80 cents of it is on the header. And so you've got to be able to grab people from the beginning. There are tools that you can use to check and grade how strong your header is online. I have a checklist that's on my website that people can go to and download like a list of free tools, like my go-to tools that I love and I use like almost daily. And one of those is like, how do you grade your headline and how strong is it? So one is spend time on your headline. The other one is start like writing more conversationally. So this one is hard because if you look at how you were taught in school, or maybe, English is not your first language, or you're a seasoned professional and you've made a pivot into another niche, and it's tempting to fall back on what you know, which is typically a more academic style of writing, right? Like very formal, long sentences, long, complex, stuff. You have to have strict adherence to grammar. But copywriting is writing how you speak. But like we talked about before, something happens between like how you speak and how you write. And that's kind of where people get paralyzed. So a few tips to write more conversationally would be to write in first or second person. So use words like I, you, or we. It makes the reader feel like you're talking directly to them and you're having a conversation versus making it kind of a more impersonal third person. So use I language, you language. The other thing would be to choose simpler words. So instead of saying, like I utilize, say I use. Or instead of facilitate, say help. Because like in real life, we probably wouldn't say, I facilitated this conversation. We wouldn't be so formal. And so when we write, look for ways that you can swap out words. Use contractions. Begin with words like because or and. You can end in a preposition like it's okay. So think about how you talk. If you're having trouble with that, what you can always do is voice record your copy as a draft. And that way it gets you speaking your copy, but then it kind of, your phone types it out for you. So that's another little hack to help you get more conversational.
That's pretty cool. I remember when I wrote my first novel, I was a child, and that's what I used to do. I used to record myself, because sometimes we sing, always we sing a lot faster than we write, and we lose the train of thought. So I was just recording, just having a lot of nice conversation with myself and record.
That's awesome.
And then I would write it down. So
it
it's
really
good to
does
get
help.
it. Yeah,
it
and
helps you
there's
purge
tools.
too. It can get stuck in your head, and sometimes, and that's a kind of a process that I use and I recommend is whenever you're stuck, like, and you don't know what to do, just, you have to purge it out. You have to, even if it's rough, don't edit the first time that you write something. The goal is to just get it out of you. And so speaking it into your phone helps. That helps tremendously, and then letting it sit. And, because writing for a lot of folks can feel super draining. And so by the time you get something out, you're like, I'm exhausted. I need to go like lay down on the couch. And so letting it sit and coming back when your mind is fresher, it helps you to see what you've written in just with fresher eyes, so it can help you catch some of those glaring issues that you want to address. And then you can start editing and trimming down the fat, slashing words, getting rid of fluff, and then, shining it up. So, but at first it helps with just getting it out of you. You can't edit a blank page. Like, you've got to just get it out of you.
There's a free flow. Let it free flow, and
Yes.
There's so many tools right now in the market that make it easily. You can use Grammarly and a lot of other tools like that to proofread your writing afterward.
Another one that I love, that this is like one of the favorites in my copywriting groups, is Hemmingway App. If you go to hemingwayapp.com and you paste your copy into that, what it does, it's a free website tool, and it grades the readability of your copy. So it tells you, because you want to shoot for kind of that middle school reading range. It'll say, well, you're grade 10 or you're grade 4. And then what it'll do, and I love this, it will highlight every sentence in your copy that is hard to read or very difficult to read. It'll flag your adverbs, because you want to be careful not to use too many adverbs. It color codes it though, so your eyes know where to go and focus and improve. And it's totally free.
Wow, that's a pretty good tip. I didn't know about that app.
Yep, hemingwayapp.com. It's a go-to. It's a lifesaver. I love it.
That's pretty cool. So, any projects that you have going on? Any books that you recommend?
Let me see. I keep a stack. I can't read the name of it. Let me just break through. So here it is. One of my go-to copywriting books that I love, and I just blanked on the name, so I'm having to look it up real quick. It's called Breakthrough Copywriting by David Garfinkel. It's an awesome book that it provides tips and strategies on how to get sales through words. And a lot of folks find copywriting very confusing, but it's so important for your business that you can't ignore copywriting if you want to be able to grow your business, especially in the digital age. So this book breaks everything down in kind of a step-by-step process. And whether you're like a new business owner or you're a seasoned, you've been doing it for 20, 30 years, this book has some really great tips. It's kind of like a little toolkit for entrepreneurs. So I recommend that one. It's Breakthrough Copywriting by David Garfinkel.
That's pretty cool. I'm definitely going to look it up. I'm going to put it there. And so, any other tips or nuggets or something that you want to share?
Sure. So another thing that I love to do that I find really helpful when you're stuck kind of getting going. So sometimes even sitting and texting into your phone, you're like, well, what am I talking to? We gave the analogy earlier of that 2-mile hike. And your goal is to get to the end and finish the hike. So whenever you're writing your copy, always keep the end in mind. So whether it's a blog, or a Facebook post or your website copy, what is it that you want the reader or your audience to do at the end of it? And then you can always back your way into that. So if you want them to take an action, let's say you want them to buy a product, what would keep them, then you start, like, that's your end goal, right? You want them to buy this webinar. What would keep them from buying that? So you have to understand, like, what are their obstacles? What would keep them from doing that? And then you keep, backing it out. Well, what are some of the ways that I can address those concerns? why would they want this webinar, and what are the pain points or the problems that they're facing that would make them want this? How is this webinar going to solve that? So you can, if sometimes if you start with the end and you slowly start backing your way out, you can end up having a pretty, like a well-structured piece of copy that then if you want, you can voice text it in and get more of that conversational flow. So that if you're having trouble getting going, that's one of the techniques that you can use to kind of back your way into your copy.
That's a pretty cool system. I like that. The is that something that you created, or is that something that is a combination of systems?
It's one that I've kind of backed my way into from taking my time in corporate, and I was a storyteller in corporate. So I was a lead trainer on my team to help them develop different sales material from like a national headquarter level, and then also like on the ground, like actually doing the sales. And we'd always have to start with, what is it that is in it for our retailer? Because the companies I was at, it was selling from manufacturer to retailers. And so I just kind of fell into this process from being trained along the way, and then also seeing what worked and what didn't work. It's always keeping your audience in mind. It's always spotlighting, like your spotlight should always be on your audience and not on you. Even when you're talking about yourself, it should always be in the context of, how can I serve and how can I show them my personality and connect with them and make their lives better. And so from a corporate standpoint, it was, well, what's in it for the retailer? From a business, what's in it for your customer? What's in it for your audience? And from that, it was, you can kind of back into those. If you're feeling disjointed, it's a great way to kind of connect and smoothen out some of those transition points. So long story short, I picked up tips along the way within corporate, some of the training I received there, and then kind of morphed it into my own. Because like we mentioned before, I'm a big process nerd, and I'm all about how do you work smarter and not harder, and how do you not have to start from scratch every time that you need to do a project.
Yeah, and that's something that anybody, including entrepreneurs, and that we can use, right? Because we're a summary of all our experience, all our skills and knowledge. We know just one thing, and just because you want to focus on one area doesn't mean that you can use those skills and knowledge and tips that you learn along the way.
Oh yeah,
and that's
great. Yeah, you should always continue to build on yourself.
Yeah, it just adds to the end results, right? One thing, and art, and the art of writing and copywriting is fascinating. I think I can continue asking you questions. One of the things that I would like to ask you is, for example, so writing a book, writing poetry, writing a blog, um, writing copyright for a website or email, are they all different forms of writing? Should you approach them different? I know they're all related and they're all conversational, but they're all different styles, right? So
there's a difference. So there's so I say that I'm a copywriter and a content marketer. So there's the difference is when you're writing content, you're doing it for entertaining or providing value, but there's not really so much of a persuasion goal in mind. Copywriting specifically is you're writing in a way that persuades the person reading it to take an action. And so there is in the copywriting world a little bit of controversy around, like, for a blog, is it copy or is it content? Because a lot of blogs, they're not necessarily designed. Some of them can be designed to sell you something, but a lot of blogs that you stumble upon, it's, you're learning tips and tricks and, amazing recipes that you can do, or time-saving hacks or organizational tips, things like that. And so it may not seem like it has a direct link to copywriting, but you can actually position your blogs in a way. So I would say blogs can be both content and copy, but really the key difference between the two is the persuasion element. So copy is very much about your writing in a way to get someone to take a specific action. So I would say books and poetry could probably fall more in the content bucket. versus like a Facebook ad or website copy or website like words that you would find on a website would fall like into a copy bucket because of the persuasion piece.
Because they're shorter and they have to get to the point. Yeah, it's totally different word. And that's something that people don't understand either. Because they just throw money at it. Huh?
Writing a book is a massive undertaking.
But I think it's easier. Because you accomplish the techniques of just letting it flow and just writing it and stop interrupting your train of thought by checking all the misspellings and everything. You know, you just write and let it flow. That's easy because it's just following your strokes. Well, when you write ads and you have to be very direct. You have to be very there's the hook. This is what you want them to do, and go do it, right? A lot of people don't even do that, and they just throwing money outside. Big companies like Facebook and everything, they get rich out of that, right? Yeah. But there's an art for that as well that you need to know how to do. So I think understand it. Yeah, you have to understand as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, you have to understand the difference. And when you don't know how to do it, it's just you need to kind of get the help that you need. You need to learn, either learn it or go to somebody that knows how to do it and let them guide you, right?
Well, and I think that's an awesome point because as entrepreneurs, especially if you're doing it solo, if you're a solopreneur, you have to wear hundreds of hats, right? And there's no way that you can wear all of them as an expert, like all of them well. And so that's why I think building a team becomes so critical. And building a team doesn't mean you have to hire someone full-time or even part-time. You can, bring them in for certain projects, or, if you're in a crunch zone and you need someone to like take something off your plate temporarily, like that's where like contractors or freelancers can be really helpful as an extension of your team and of your business, because it's such a high pressure that we put on ourselves to get everything done and to do it all well. And we just can't be like, I am not an expert in IT or tech stuff. So, building elaborate websites, I can build a basic one, but I can't build an elaborate, intricate one. That's not in my wheelhouse, but I can write the words for it and kind of have an idea of how I want it to look. That's when I would need to call in someone who can do. Could I teach myself? Yes. Could I stumble my way through and build some elaborate, website? Yeah, but it would take a massive amount of brain power and time. And as entrepreneurs, we're just short on that.
Right. Especially time. There's never enough because it's about managing your time effectively.
I wish there was more time. So, what would you do with the more time? You'd probably wish you had even more. So
yeah.
It's never enough.
No, especially when you like to learn. There's never enough time because there's always something new to learn.
Oh, there is. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful, especially with everything being digital and so many folks who are starting up new businesses. And, in the pandemic, as hard as it's been, you've seen such creativity come out of it from a business standpoint. And so it's been really neat to see how the resilience within people and business owners comes out in times like this, when you have that added pressure on and the uncertainty, and there's been so much fear, but to see creativity kind of blossom from that has been really inspiring. And there's just so much to learn, even in the midst of kind of the environment we're in now.
Now, when you talk about that, and there's some awesome writers out there, and some people that do pretty amazing with copywriting, including yourself. When you contract out these works, that you hire somebody to help you with the writing and stuff like that. What's the legalities behind that? As a small business, that's something you have to consider. Um, so because it's not your work, they're helping you with your work. So when you put it out there, what's the proper way? Because that's one of the big problems that people have. They don't know how to give enough credit to the people that help them, and that's
Right.
something important. It might not be like they're trying to steal or nothing like that. It's they just don't know how to do it the proper way.
Right.
Get the
And
credit
I
where
would
it's due.
it's a great point, because there's a lot of plagiarism and a lot of using people's work without their permission. And I would say from my standpoint as a copywriter, I'm a ghostwriter. So if you go to my website and you look at my portfolio, those are pieces that I've gotten permission from those business owners to post that as a portfolio piece in my site. Because from a contract standpoint, the contracts that I send to my clients, I hold their confidentiality at the highest level. And so they're essentially paying me to put their content and their thoughts and their passions into compelling words. And so when we exchange those services, they're buying the words. So once they sign off and we complete the project, those words are theirs and they're no longer mine. So they don't have to give that. There's folks, business owners that I write for, who you will never see my name. Most of them, you will never see my name on any of their stuff, because ultimately when I write for them, they review it. I write with their tone and to their target audience. So I'm just doing it on their behalf. And so it's probably a bit similar to authors who have a ghostwriter help them write a novel, where you may never see that ghostwriter's name. You might see, I don't know in the beginning of the page, but from a copywriting standpoint, it's they review it, they approve it, and then once we finish the project, those words are theirs. So I don't ever take credit for those.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point.
Yeah, the goal in copywriting is that if someone were to go on their website, they would never know that the business owner didn't write it, because as a copywriter, the responsibility is on me to write in the tone and the voice and the brand of that business owner, so that whenever they publish it out in whatever format, it reflects their personality and who they're trying to reach, like, seamlessly.
That's pretty cool. And I'm sure there's legalities in between paperwork that you have to get. It's just not saying. You always have to be careful with that and know the laws, right? What protect you, what does.
Yes, and I have a contract that is specifically designed for freelancer and business professional interaction. So I would definitely, if someone is getting into copywriting, you want to make sure that you have contracts that you use whenever you're working with your client. And it's not even so much to cover yourself from a legal standpoint, although that's a factor. It's also to make sure that there's clarity around what are the expectations and what are the deliverables, and having that spelled out in a contract just helps to clear up any ambiguity or confusion that can happen between, a writer and their client. So I'm not a legal professional, so y'all can talk to your own legal folks to get those contracts. But it would be a strong recommendation of mine to make sure that you have that in place.
So that's something that we all need to have a bill team, right? And I think copywriting should be included in the bill team, because that's something that a lot of people struggle with. So, anything else that you want to add?
I just think, I would encourage any entrepreneurs who are listening to this to know that it's okay to not get everything out polished and to feel like you're a professional when it comes to writing. It's okay. And the great thing about copywriting is that it constantly evolves, and you can test and see what works. And if it doesn't work, you can change and you can pivot it. It's a journey, it's learning. I've learned a ton. I continue to learn, because psychology can evolve. A lot of psychology can stay the same, but a lot of it can evolve. There's always research. There's always new ways to relate out there. So I think if you take the pressure off of saying, like, I have to get it right the first time, like, no, not even seasoned copywriters get it right the first time. Some of the copywriting gurus that I follow, for just a headline alone, they're writing like 24 different versions of it, because there's a myth of you got to get it right the first time out, and it's not true. So I would encourage any business owner to take that pressure off of themselves and just focus on getting it out of you first. And you can always polish it up and refine it.
Yeah, I forgot the name of the writer that he published the same book 8 times. He just keep rewriting the same book.
Yeah, just keep, yeah. Why not?
And it's a bestseller every single time.
That's awesome. Well, it's true. It's, and especially in copywriting with how like digital is evolving. So like a copywriting book, I have a copywriter's handbook that I love, and I ordered an older version of it, but it was all like, it was like 90% like printed copy and like 10% digital. And so then he re-released another one in the past year, and it was like almost reverse, where it was majority digital and then just a little bit of print. Because like the venues to reach people just change. So you have to continue to ebb and flow. And that's the cool thing about being an entrepreneur, is that it's an experiment too. Like you can test and learn, and it's your laboratory in some ways.
That's a cool picture to think about it.
Get a lab
to approach it that way.
Get a lab coat and put on your goggles.
Make it fun, right?
Yeah, have fun. Sometimes we put so much pressure on ourselves, but really, like, this should be fun. We started businesses for a reason and a purpose, and we want it for our livelihood, but we should also like love it and be passionate about it. And some of those spots that are a little bit tricky, like bring in, have someone come in who's an expert, or just try to figure out a way to lighten it up as you learn your way through it. And know you're going to make mistakes, but the most important thing is that you're trying and you keep trying.
It's been an incredible conversation. I really enjoyed this interview. We can continue talking as long as you want. This is amazing. There are so many unknowns that you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
You stumble across them, and then that's the time that you need to go in the discovery process. And that's what writing is all about, right?
Mm-hmm.
You write and you tell stories, and that's an art that centuries they used to tell the stories before, and until years later they decided to write it down.
Right.
And we lose so many of them. So I think it's amazing what you do, because it's not easy.
But you can learn some. It's not easy, but you can learn skills to do it. Like I do believe that everyone has within them the ability to learn, even if it's just a few skills. That's okay. That's more than what you started out with. It's not always easy, and as the more you learn, the more you. It's kind of like if you love wine, it's like, oh, well, I like red or white, but then you start getting into the different varietals. Like, well, do you like Pinot Noir or Cabernet? And then it's like, well, where in the world? And then before you know it, like, I like red wine has become like a mix of options. And the more you learn, the more you're like, I don't even know what I know anymore. Copywriting can be like that too. There's a big rabbit trail you can go down. So
it follows. Yeah, it follows the same basic principle. Just do it, and then bring the specialization to it when you need it. But you starting, it creates it let that ball running, right? Otherwise, you trying to get it perfect, it's never going to happen. Even if you plan it.
Artist's work is never finished. They're always like one brush stroke away from perfection, right? Like the same is with writing. You've got to let it go. You've got to get it down, get it out. If it's not perfect, it's done. Done sometimes is better. Done is better than perfect. You learn from it, you do better next time, and you got to keep the momentum going forward.
That's pretty cool. So where our readers can find you?
So folks can find, I pop up in a number of places. So if you want on Facebook, you can find me at ASAP Copy and Coaching. It's the handle is at asapcopy.co. So ASAPCOPY.co. If you go to that website at www.asapcopy.co, that takes you to the landing page for the Copy Club. So this is a membership program that was specifically designed for overwhelmed entrepreneurs who need a serious lifesaver when it comes to writing copy, but they may not be in a position to hire a copywriter to do it full-time themselves. So I just redesigned this at the time of this recording, and I'm so excited about it because it's now a mixture of the insight behind it was learning how to write copy as a business owner is a great long-term strategy, but entrepreneurs need a pressure release like right now. And so this Copy Club, I've redesigned it from getting feedback from the members to include a mixture of long-term skill and short-term relief. So each month, members get 8 to 10 social media posts that includes graphics, customizable captions, and story ideas so that they can continue to be consistent on social media. Even when things get like really busy and the first thing to go is social media, these posts help them to stay consistent and go. And so it's designed to get the most of the way there on their social media needs. I provide swipe files and templates. There's also two group coaching sessions a month where I teach different techniques and strategies from a copy standpoint so you can keep building your skill. Weekly live Q&As, you get a chance to get feedback on your copy, you get ongoing access to me, and it's for a much more affordable price than having me do it all entirely for you, which I certainly can as well. But more information on that is at asapcopy.co, or you can find me on Facebook, or you can email me at ashley@asapcopy.co, and I'm happy to help.
That sounds like an amazing product. I'm going to check it out. It sounds like something that a lot of people would be able to use. So congratulations for that.
Thank you. It's the members helped me redesign it. Because I originally started it off as just a coaching program, and I was like, something's not hitting right. And so I asked, I listened, I researched, I brainstormed, and then it was redesigned, but all completely from what I learned from the small business owners who were part of the founding group, kind of a part of a beta test. So it's been really cool.
And that's very important what you say. You ask and you listen. Something sometimes we don't take the time to do. You need to ask and you need to listen.
Yes.
And then put it into actions. So it was a pleasure having you. Anytime you want to come and anything that you want to announce to our readers, just let us know. And you have an open invitation to come back.
Thank you so much. This was so much fun. I love talking to you, and I have to admit, seeing your background in Miami right now makes me so jealous that it is like gray skies here. I wish it was sunshiny.
I can say a little bit.
I'll pretend, I'll light a candle and kind of put it up on a shelf, and maybe it'll kind of pretend to be the sun. It looks
all right. Okay. Well, let me stop.